folks, it's Sven Jungbeck again, and today it's proper chords to The Shadow of Your Smile, which is a beautiful song that I was introduced to by the Rosenberg Trio, because I didn't listen so much to jazz music when I was a kid. I grew up listening to rock bands, and then kind of the acoustic intros, they kicked me. So from that, I kind of switched to Paco de Lucia guitar trio with Aldi Meola, John McLaughlin. There wasn't so much CDs around, back then we listened to cassettes, LPs and CDs. There was no YouTube, no Spotify, so you gotta just grab what you could get, and I didn't own a lot of CDs. So I had this Friday night in San Francisco CD, and I tried to get things that are somehow similar. So I got this CD by the Rosenberg Trio, live at North Sea Jazz, and another one that was called Sueños Gitanos. So, and these CDs somehow made my teenage years for a while, because it was the only CDs I could afford. I think I had Question and Answer by Pat Metheny, and all the rest, it was like Guns N' Roses, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, that kind of stuff. So, but what happened is, in first place, I didn't even realize that the Rosenberg Trio was related to Django Reinhardt, because I also did own a Django Reinhardt CD that my grandma gave me. It was from the local food store. Sometimes they used to have like CDs in the front of the, in the front of the shop, just like on a table. So, and the Django Reinhardt CD was from there, and I really liked it, but I had no relation between the Rosenberg Trio and Django when I heard those CDs at the first time. And I considered the Sueños Gitanos by the Rosenberg Trio much more as a kind of flamenco fusion CD. Which it is not, but that was my impression as a kid. So The Shadow of Your Smile was one of the songs that I kept listening to, and they play it as a bolero. So I want to have a little playthrough because it's an important standard, not only in gypsy jazz, but also in contemporary jazz music. And I just want to give you a little overview on the options you have. You could play it like a bolero, you could play it like a bossa, or even like a swing. So let's get right into it. I would play it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. This as a bolero, as a set. You could also be playing it way more than a gypsy bossa, like da dee doo 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 doo. That's also okay, and some versions even it's not even a gypsy jazz version. I don't remember the name of the saxophone player. Please write it in the comments. There's a very famous version. I'm not sure, is it Ornette Coleman? I don't know. I don't think so. A little newer, I think. But he plays it like this. Like it is a swing version that is like a little, low and mellow, sounding like this. Do do da dee da doo. group, and so on. So the chords are actually, it has a lot of chords. It's a difficult song which contains a lot of chords. It has a lot of a lot of different progressions. It starts with a 2/5 to E minor, and the special thing that it's not starting with a F sharp half diminished chord, but with a F sharp minor 7 chord. And I play the normal jazz voicing here, which F sharp with F sharp, A, E, and again A. I avoid the F sharp minor 9 because concerning my view it's getting too much out of the pocket, because we will then have the G sharp here, which would be leading to the G, and this is too much like a major minus thing. I like to play the standard F sharp minor 7 voicing. If I play it bossa, I would even play the bar chord for the B dominant 7 chord. Pretty normal, just like the bar chord in the 7th fret, right? You know, covering all the strings, having the 5th here, the 7 covered with the bar chord, and then the D sharp on the G string. So the very common chord. If you don't want to do that, or if you play the bolero, you can play the chord with the thumb in the bass. In that way my thumb is covering the B, while the rest of the fingers are playing the rest of the chord. The thumb is also muting the A string in that case. You could play this chord, which is common in gypsy jazz. The thumb is still covering the E string, the B on the E string. The pinky is playing the 5th, and the rest of the fingers are playing the rest of the chord. So this one is the same than the bar chord. The only thing you do is you avoid the high E string. And this is a good thing to do, because the high E string is kind of an annoying sound, can be kind of an annoying sound. So instead of having this, you have this, and the rest is muted. So that's the 2/5. For the E minor chord, I take the same voicing than from the F sharp minor chord. But now I could also take E minor 9, which is also okay. There's several options you have. I mean, the root is played with the middle finger for sure. The index is playing G on the D string, and the ring finger is covering 3 strings for the whole 6-string chord. But what you could also do is you could just leave out the high E string and play it with middle finger, index finger, and then use G and B string with the 3rd and with the 4th finger, like this. Afterwards, I switch to A dominant 7/9. So by now we're here. F sharp minor 7, B dominant 7, E minor 7, and now A dominant 7. So you got the same 2 chords, just moved downwards a whole tone. F sharp minor, B7, E minor, A7, with multiple options concerning the voicings. F sharp minor, B7, E minor, A7, or F sharp minor, E7, E minor 7, A7. There's a third option concerning the dominant chords, but this is very tricky. But a lot of players use it, so I will show it anyway. You will also play the root with your thumb, and then you will play those 3 strings with the middle finger placed between the strings in the 9th fret, picking F sharp and B at the same time. The index is playing the D sharp and the pinky is playing A, and so my thumb is playing the root. So that would sound like this. I used to do that a lot when I was 1.5 years ago, roundabout. I had an injury at my left thumb, and by that time I stopped using the thumb as much as I did before. Before that I fretted everything with my thumb. Now I kind of avoid it sometimes because I got a little problem here, which doesn't prevent me from playing. I had to cancel 7 gigs back then, 1 week. I had 1 week every day a gig, and I had to cancel it, which was kind of a catastrophe. Not only for me, but also for Mr. Joscho Stephan, in which trio I'm playing most of the time. So he got to get 7 rhythm guitar players, because there was not one single guy who could do more than 1 gig. So you had like a whole week, 7 days, a different rhythm guitar player. Anyway, I wasn't really healed again after those 7 days, but I started playing anyway. And actually, some things like that happen as a musician. You got to just stick to it. So if that happens to you, don't feel discouraged. Hand problems will always disappear again. That's my experience. And I know a lot of musicians. I had a lot of problems with tendinitis and stuff like that throughout my whole life. It didn't prevent me from making my career. All it did was sometimes, you have hard times. So that's life, I guess. So actually, I would tend to play the bar chord or even play the chord with the thumb like this now, which is a common jazz voicing. Instead of using the thumb for the root, I use my index finger. And all these jazz voicings are about avoiding too many fifths, especially the one on the high E. That's the point. So. Maybe you notice that I'm alternating the bass. You can do that even if there's a bass player. It won't cause any trouble. That's fine, You can also just don't do it. Or even place the middle finger between both strings for having a more voomy sound. So afterwards, we head right into the so-called autumn leaves progression, which is like A minor 7, D7 9, G major 7, C major 7. And there's nothing crazy that I'm doing. There's a couple of multiple ways to play the A minor again. You can play the normal jazz chord that every jazz guitarist would probably go for in first place, with the middle finger on the A string is muted, and then the ring finger is covering all the 3 strings in the 5th fret, G, C, and E. And some people play this with the thumb in the bass, others use all the 4 fingers. And it's the same principle. Again, it's about avoiding too many fifths in your chord, especially the one on the high E string. When I play the D7-9 chord, there's the typical gypsy way of playing it, which I would be playing especially if I would be playing swing. And this is the one covering all 6 strings. So again, I place my middle finger between 2 strings, pushing down both strings at the same time, which is kind of tricky. If you got problems with that, you gotta just figure it out. I think you will solve it. It's just like it's not happening from one day to the other. Some things that we tend to be when we evolve as guitar players, sometimes there are things we get more impatient with. You think like, well, this chord should be working after a day. But the fact is that whenever somebody shows you a totally new chord, a chord that you never played before, can still cause you trouble even though you're a very advanced professional player, because it's out of the pocket, So just stick to it, it's a good sound. And the rest is a pretty normal D dominant 7-9 chord. The index will play the 3rd, and the pinky, the ring finger will cover 3 strings, C, E, and A. You can also leave the high E string by just playing the middle strings and also the low E string. In that way, I mute the low E string with my middle finger. For the G, you can play G major 7, G6, normal voicings. You see these ones. C major 9. All of those are common jazz voicings, C major 7. Because this is a jazzy song, so I wouldn't even pick too many gypsy jazz voicings here. I would play like... Maybe I have this little bass movement. I like this. Stuff like that can always be happening. The E minor that follows after the autumn leaves progression with A minor, D9, G major 7, C major 9, F sharp half diminished, which is just A minor with F sharp in the bass, B dominant 7. Actually, fun fact, a lot of times when I play rhythm guitar, also in the Joscho Stephan Trio, and people see me, when there's B dominant 7, I just play the campfire chord and sometimes mute the B string. So I avoid having the flat 9 here, because the jazz sounds like the flat 9 and the raised 9 are kind of pretty, let's say they're pretty present, you know. You can't, and this is like too much for me. When I play rhythm guitar, I try to pick chords that are not getting into the way of the soloist. And a lot of options get in the way of the soloists. When good players use options in their comping, that's always when it's completely obvious what the situation is about. For example, there might be a melody that is absolutely 100% based on an augmented idea. And then you can play some augmented chord voicings without getting in the way. But chords with alterations, especially when these are on the upper strings, can always cause problems. So I use them a lot, but more in a case of when I am the soloist, to throw them in my solo, or to play them in a chord melody or in an intro. When I play rhythm guitar, for me it's the best way to just leave it. So the E minor chord that follows after the F sharp half diminished and B dominant 7 is a cool one because it's a long one, so you can do the descent from the root to the 6. And there's a lot of ways to do that. One that is very common in gypsy jazz is playing this one. And the good thing, since it's E minor, you can even stick to the open strings. Which sounds great. Which is really cool. But otherwise, I would also go to do it on the G string. On the G string, it starts with the standard bar chord, and then I play E minor major 7. Then just by releasing the middle finger, I will have E minor 7, and then I have to switch fingers, middle finger on the root and the index, C sharp. The other one was when I play a waltz, or when I play a rhythm guitar that has a lot of bass in it, I even tend to use the very simple open voicing in the first position, which is cool. I have like E minor with the major 7 in the bass, E minor with D in the bass, and E minor with C sharp in the bass, which is this chord. Afterwards, we're already heading to an end, so we will play then C sharp half diminished, which is the normal voicing that you use in jazz music. On the A string, it looks like this, crossed fingers. So those two in the 4th fret, A string and G string, and those two in the 5th fret, D string and B string. And up in the 9th fret, like this. 9, A string muted, 9, 9, 8, which is C sharp, B, E, and G. And then for the F sharp dominant 7, I use the normal F dominant 7 voicing again. I could use a flat 13 here. The flat 13 is not that disturbing, but I would never use it up here when playing rhythm guitar. That's really important. You know, chords like this, which contain all these option notes, can be very disturbing when playing rhythm guitar. That's a fact. So, absolutely. And then after that, I don't play F sharp half diminished. I switch directly to B7 and I do some flamenco stuff. And I do that because that's like the gypsy jazz flavor of it. That's emphasizing a little the bolero, taking a little of the jazz out of it. So all of it was F sharp minor 7, B dominant 7, E minor 7, A dominant 7, A minor 7, D9, G major 7, C major 9, F sharp half diminished, B dominant 7, E major. This is E minor, E minor, E minor major, E minor 7, E minor 6, and and then C sharp half diminished, F sharp dominant 7, and B dominant 7, C and B. This is those. So I'm switching half tone up and back. Part 2, more or less, is the same. Part B. Till that moment, instead of G, we switch to B minor 7 flat 5, or B half diminished, and then E dominant 7. Pretty normal E dominant 7 chord. Then A minor 7, moving it 3 frets up to C minor 7. Then B minor 7 is 7th fret, and E dominant 7. And then A dominant 7, A minor 7, D9, back to the root. And before the form starts again, a kick on B dominant 7. So the whole of this is from the A minor. Now the major chord, dominant 7. Top of the form. So that's it. Have fun with this song. It's a really good song to learn. And follow my YouTube channel for further instructions. This was Sven Jungbeck for you. Cheers!